Welcome back to Economics Simplified with Miss Ellen. Today's video is on the part 2 of unemployment. Okay. So this is a continuation of my previous video we did on unemployment. Now we look at what is meant by frictional unemployment. The frictional unemployment is another type of unemployment. Now it's a type of unemployment caused by the time taken by a worker to move from one job to another, or it is an unemployment caused by lack of knowledge about the abilities of a job. A typical example, we have a fresh graduate who is seeking for a job to do. Now, we are dwelling on the time taken by a labor to move from one occupation or a job to another job. For example, if let's say there is an introduction of a new machine or an introduction of, let's say, a new technology, one has to look for another work to do. So that time it takes for the labor to look for another work. Let's assume that it takes you 3 years or 3 months, or let's say 1 month. The period in which you are searching for the job, it's what is termed as a frictional unemployment. As I said, we have that of the fresh graduates. The time it takes for you to look for a job to do in a system, it's known as the frictional unemployment. Then we talk about residual unemployment. This is a type of unemployment where people are unemployed because of their disabilities or if they have health issue. No one wants to employ such people. So because of your health issue or your disabilities, you are unemployed. That is a residual unemployment. Then another type, we have the classical unemployment. Classical unemployment. It is an unemployment where some essential element of the factors of production breaks down or it's lacking. A typical example is the labor is available to work, but then there is no capital for the labor to work with. So when that is the situation, then it is termed as a classical unemployment. Then we have urban unemployment. That is when the youth leave the rural place to search for a non-existing white-collar job in the city or at the urban center. When they come, they realize that they have been misled. So during that situation, they are unemployed. That is what urban unemployment. Then we have voluntary unemployment. So as the name suggests, voluntary. Now, this is a type of unemployment where workers decide deliberately not to work. Nobody is putting the pressure on you. You have decided that I don't want to work. Now, the reasons can either be because of low wages given to the employer. That is, you find out that you are being paid or you are being given a low wage. Due to that, you decide not to work at all. Then the bad weather condition, it's also the bad working condition, it's a factor that will make somebody not to work willingly. Then we have when you are coming from a rich background, everything is given to you, you have the money, you have everything. So nothing prompts you to go and then search for a work to do. That is the voluntary unemployment. Then the direct form of the voluntary unemployment will be the involuntary unemployment. Now, this is the situation where people are fit and then very eligible or very capable of working, but then the work, it's not there. You are searching for the work to do, but then the work does not exist. That is involuntary unemployment. Now, having seen the types of unemployment, let's look at the causes of unemployment. What causes one to be unemployed? The first cause is inappropriate and then low level of education. A typical example that is in the African system, that is what Ghana. The educational system does not really teach the labor how to fit into the societal jobs. It's all about you chew and you pour, you go your way. So at the end of the day, you come to the work field and you realize that you don't fit into the system. Due to that, you become unemployed. Then we have changing techniques of production. That is the use of the capital intensive more than the labor intensive. We've realized that in this 21st century, we are using machines more than labor. So the machine has come to replace labor. Due to that, a lot of people are unemployed. Then we have high population growth rate. When there is high population in the country as a result of either early marriage or the practice of polygamy or religious beliefs. A typical example, that is, some religions do not support the use of family planning. So we are just giving birth. Due to that, you realize that the population or the labor outweighs the number of jobs available. So of course, people will definitely be unemployed. Then another cause is when there is a change in the pattern of demand. A change in the pattern of demand due to the fact that consumer tastes and preference have changed for a particular commodity. So those who are producing that commodity will be unemployed. And then we have changes in income. For example, let's assume that there has been a change in your income. In other words, your income has increased, and whatever you are consuming is, let's say, an inferior good. Since your income has increased for an inferior good, you tend to demand less of such goods. So that is another cause of unemployment. Then we have limited market. Limited market. That is when there is a fall in a product, a particular product. Producers will have no choice but to reduce their supply. Now, if they are to reduce their supply, then of course they have to also lay off certain people. Why? Because demand for such commodities have reduced. Now, this can be as a result of if there is low income in the system, whereby people are not having money to purchase the goods and services, then it means producers will have to reduce their output, leading to unemployment. Another factor will be that because consumers are not ready to consume the made in Ghana goods, we have taste for foreign goods. Due to that, we have limited market in a system. Then we have government policies. Government policies also causes unemployment in the system. So government policies such as minimum wage. Now, when government increases the minimum wage in the country, what it means is that it leads to a high cost of production in terms of there has been an increase in the wages and salaries. So it means that employers will also have to stick to the increase in minimum wage. Now they will be the final determiner of who to employ and then who not to employ. So since government is saying that I should give my workers higher wages, then it means that whoever I can pay, it's that is what I will have to maintain. So he or she will have to cut down labor. So if you are fortunate to be picked, then you are okay. But then if the employer cannot pay you, then it means you have to be laid off, which is causing unemployment in the system. Now let's look at the solutions to the types of unemployment. So we are going to take each of the types of unemployment and then know the solution to that type of unemployment. The first is frictional unemployment. We know what frictional unemployment is. So the solution to frictional unemployment will be that there should be an improvement in the flow of information. People should be given information as to where there is vacancies for them to go and search for works there. And also incentives should be given to workers so that they wouldn't be moving from one job to another job. Why? Because they are okay in their present situation. Then we have the solution to structural unemployment. With this, there should be provision of facilities for training and then retraining. That is for the structural unemployment. Then with the cyclical unemployment, the solution will be that we should adapt the use of fiscal and then monetary policies to increase the level of aggregate demand. Remember, we said with the cyclical unemployment, it is as a result of when there is an economic crisis or economic recession in the system. So to solve this problem, that is using the fiscal policy. With a fiscal policy, it has to do with the use of taxation. So government will have to increase taxation or will have to increase tax in the system in order to reduce the inflation in the system. Then another fiscal policy will have to be that government will have to decrease its expenditure. Whenever government expenditure increases, it means indirectly government is pumping money into the system. You remember we have inflation in the system. So government will have to find a way of reducing inflation by also reducing its expenditure in the system. Then the use of the monetary policy has to do with the use of the monetary policy tools, such as the open market operation. When we talk about the open market operation, this is the buying and selling of bonds to the general public by the government. So since we are facing inflation, it means that government will have to find a way of reducing money in the system. So government will have to sell bonds or shares in order to that is reduce the number of money inflow into the system. Then another monetary policy, it's the use of interest rates. Now, as I said, government has to find a way of reducing money in the system. So government will have to increase the interest rates at the bank so that people wouldn't easily go for money or go for loans from the bank due to an increase in interest rates. Then let's see how to solve the seasonal unemployment. That is, there should be the practice of irrigation. People should practice irrigation when we are in the dry season. So it means that the farmer can work in all the weather conditions, being it the rainy season or the dry season. We should practice irrigation. And also, people should be educated, or people should have other jobs they are doing when there is off season. A typical example is the mason. We said with that of the mason, they are actively employed in the dry season, but then in the rainy season, they should find other jobs to do as a supporting job during the rainy season. Then let's talk about how to solve the problem of disguised unemployment. With this, we are saying that there should be provision of alternative jobs for all manner of professions, and also the population size should be checked. Population size should be checked. Then how to solve unemployment, and that is urban unemployment. With this, it means that the rural areas, they should be given some incentives. In other words, certain social amenities should be given to them so that people are going to stay in the rural areas and then not move to the urban areas where they will come and add up to the already existing unemployment in the cities or the urban centers. Then we have classical unemployment. How do we solve this? There should be an increase, or we should increase the availability of capital and also improve land tenure system. With the classical unemployment, we said when labor lacks capital to work with. So there should be the provision of capital for the labor to also work with it. Then we have voluntary unemployment. How do we solve the voluntary unemployment? It means that wages should be attractive enough for people to come out and then work. So finally, we look at the effect of unemployment, or the outcome of unemployment in society or in a country. The first effect is that it will lead to a fall in output. It will lead to a fall in output. Now, if majority of the citizens in the country are unemployed, then it means that they wouldn't be able to have any money to purchase the goods which have been produced. Now, if producers or suppliers are supplying goods and then the citizens are not also purchasing them, then what they have to do is they have to cut down production or they have to reduce production. So that is one effect. Then the second effect is that there will be low savings leading to low investment. You are not working, you are not receiving any wages, any salary. How will you save? If you are not saving, it means you can't also invest. So that will be another effect. Then another is there will be a fall in government tax revenue. Now, government usually raise revenue in the form of tax, that is, taxing the citizens. The tax can either be a direct tax or an indirect tax. But here is the case that majority of your people are unemployed. So how do you get the tax, or how do you get your revenue for further development? Then we also have, there will be an increase in dependency ratio, meaning that the few ones who are working in the country, that is the unemployed people, will be depending on them. So that will be a huge burden placed on the few who are working. Then we have, there will be a fall in trade union abilities to ask for higher wages and better conditions of service. Now, the trade unions are there to fight for their members who are working. Then, if the members you are fighting for, they are unemployed, it means that since the rate of unemployment in the system is so high, people will also be willing to render their services at a lower wage, making the trade unions to be powerless in also asking for an increment in wage for their members. Then it will lead to an increase in social vice. If people are not working, then they will have to think about alternative ways of living. So it will bring about armed robbery in the system and so other social vices. Then the last one is, there will be the tendency of skilled labor losing their skills due to long period of being unemployed. Let's assume that you are a skilled labor, you have a trade or you have some skills you are using to work. Then you are unemployed for a period of, let's say, either 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. The tendency of you being employed again and having the same skill will reduce. Why? Because you stayed in the house without using the skills. So you will lose the little skill or the skill that you have. Then we talk about full employment. Full employment. Now, the full employment refers to a situation where all persons who are fit and qualified to work are engaged at an existing wage rate. In simple terms, it means that every labor in the country is working. There is no labor who is not working, or there is no resource which is lying idle. All the resources, being in the capital, the labor, the land, it's fully employed or it's fully utilized. No resource, as I said, it's lying idle. That is what is meant by full employment. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel, you like, you share, and make sure to leave a comment below.